And no countdown? Lovely people, how are you? How are you? This is Francis, yeah, coming at you. We want to talk about everybody's favorite equity, Tesla. Tesla. The musky smelling one. Yes, indeed. I hope you're going to find this enjoyable. And yes, there was a bit of a show yesterday. In fact, I'm going to tell you a little bit about those earnings announcements and results that went on. And in fact, a long-time bull of Tesla has described it as a debacle. A long-time bull says it was a debacle. So Tesla's first quarter earnings and the call with the analysts was one of the top debacles I've ever seen. That's right, over here we're reading. And Daniel Ives of Wedbush, this particular analyst, not all of them say such things, has gone to neutral from outperform. So generally everything's a buy when you're an investment banker. Why? Because you want to make brokerage and trade. So that just is kind of neutral. Outperform is we actually think you should buy. We think it's really going to do some good for you. Buy just means kind of neutral, really. You should just drop them all a level. Neutral is it's a little bit smelly, but not entirely smelly. This is my interpretation of the old equity analyst calls. Something, by the time they actually call something a sell, well, it's usually stinky fish. Anyway, we'll see. By the way, Enron never got to be a sell. 3 weeks before Enron went down, it still had buy recommendations on many analysts' levels. But let's have a little closer look and read a little further of what was actually said. In our 20 years of covering tech stocks on the street, we view this quarter as one of the top debacles we have ever seen. While Musk & Co. in his episode of Out of the Twilight Zone Active Demand, okay, in other words, people who want to buy that goddamn cars, and profitability, in other words, what you make versus what it costs to make, will magically return. In other words, they've already departed both the demand and the profitability. So let's highlight that a little bit. Here's the key thing. They're in a twilight zone, not a good comment, not a good analogy, and we're talking about profitability and demand. Demand down, profitability down means making less money, selling less cars, and not really going so great. So the whole notion of those that are believers in the amazing story of Musk and Tesla is that largely, it is like Amazon Mark II. It's a unicorn in waiting. Never mind the profits, they'll come someday. We burn the cash. We are going to own the world tomorrow, and you will have dividends and earnings rain down upon ye. The only problem is we're talking about the car industry. We're not talking about retail, everything on internet, and nuking half the online brick and mortar retailers. No, not at all. We're not talking about setting up a storage, delivery, and back infrastructure that can see you compete with physical shops at a far lower cost. No, we're talking about cars. Okay, there's a tweak to these cars. They're battery-driven cars. Okay, he's got a bit of a lead on the others. They are coming, and they will want market share, and they will cross-subsidize against their profitable vehicles, their everyday petrol combustion-burning vehicles. In other words, if you see CEVs, that means combustion engine vehicles. For some of you that when you start following Tesla, there's a couple of acronyms that you're probably going to need to know. But the key point is volumes are down. Volumes. So they're selling less cars, and profitability. That's a deadly formula, especially when you're already burning cash. No, not profitable. And both are down. This is not a good combination. So not only did they let down on analysts expecting 5.4 billion in revenue, in fact they got 4.5. The loss on those, they were expecting around $1.50 a share, and they ended up getting closer to $4 and some change with a share, which had a few exceptional items. If you took those out, it would be about $3.50. So still way too big a loss. And now Musk and the gang are saying they may need to raise more capital again, which was something previously that entirely written out of being the case. So top Tesla shareholder says Elon Musk doesn't need to be CEO. Ooh, the visionary might have to go. Yep, well, I would say that tweet, by the way, suggesting that you were going to do a private buyout of a listed company at $420 a share and that you'd already secured the funding to do so, was pretty heavy on the manipulation side in terms of all things. In terms of all things with regards to Tesla. Let's have a look at something else. We will have a look at the chart and then we'll see what other people are saying. So a while ago, more importantly, let's go back here. A while ago on YouTube, we said, careful now, the timing matters. Timing matters. There's many people that have been short Tesla, but entries matter and timing matters. And if you shorted Tesla somewhere at 380, you've done pretty damn well. But many people will have shorted all the way along these inclines and have been too early and would have been wearing a heavy carry cost and are now in a situation where they would be losing money. And timing certainly matters. And we said this is a key level in and around the $250 mark. It's a real key level. And we pointed out, whoopa, it's playing over here. Stop. We don't want to have two Francises. One is definitely enough. Let's get the brakes back on that and go back to the chart as it was on that YouTube a little earlier. There we go. Stay there. Sit, stay. It's like a bad dog. Sit and stay. There you go. So there we go. What did we have? 250, 260 was a key level. I talk about key levels of significance, just writing all those tops. This is what I drawn on the chart for Tesla in here. And you also had that topping area at the 380, and then you have a number of areas that were quite interesting, although this one dipped a whole bunch further, and there might be a justification for another level at 140, 250, 260, and 380. I actually prefer the 260 to the 250. 250 is the most logical number, but we don't need to take such big meat chunks out of those tops. I think it comes a little bit closer to being in and around here, but I'm tweaking at the fringes here. In short, you've got a two-story parking lot here, and Tesla's been hanging out since this bull run in the beginning of 2017. Tesla's been hanging out in the top floor, in the penthouse suite, and it's been swinging in and around. If you were a range trader and you were selling every time you got to 360, you would have done really well, and you were a buyer during that period every time you got to 250, 260, you would have done well. Now, the call we made in this YouTube, there's the man hiding in the dark with a fancy complexion. He was saying that the timing is coming now for the shorts to get some pay dirt. The timing is coming, and I think this key level of significance right here of the $260 mark could be broken. And in fact, not only will you do the 260 mark to the downside, you're going to run through that 230 with a 220s number in Tesla coming down. So this time the support may not be there. Why this time? Because that would have been inaccurate to say then. It would have been inaccurate to say then. Is it once, twice, three times a lady? Oh, ha, 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 ha. You didn't know I was planning my transgender op, did you? No. Anyway, yeah, so the third time, maybe it's going to be the fail, we said. So Shortsville might have their moment, and in the next fortnight, this was done 14th of April. We are now the 21st, so you're talking about 11 days now. And the next fortnight, maybe a month or so, we will see it through 230 and the big key level of 260 to run. So that YouTube went out about just under 2 weeks ago. So let's have a little look at the charts and see how it's doing. So what if I put some lines on here for you? Let's go a little bit higher up time frame and just do the daily. And our community has been all over this and chatting about this. And we have a nice little squeeze that I mentioned in the the community, and later we shared a small little segment of that in that Freeview YouTube. Let's have a little look. We might need weekly on here, and that's it, much better. So let's get a little look about how we've been doing subsequently. So here we are, we have the chart, there she is, and it's no line draw. Let's see if we can pull some lines in. There we go. So these were the big levels. There's your 260 level, the blue line. So if I once again just bring in the draw tool, 260 is the blue line, and then I've gone for a nice far out 120, and then the sub line here, which apart from this spike down, which had a lovely little setup in it, by the way, in its spike down. And by the way, this was a great little falling wedge to the same line that got its upside break. And this turned into a very powerful move for the Tesla men. And since then, that's been clear rejection. This has been a great sell at 380. It's actually a great sell at 360. It's got no chance of doing that now because it's given up the 260, $100 lower level. Now, I also did a very, very good, I thought it was good, but the comments seem to be very good, chat with Chris of iGold Advisor yesterday. Go check his videos out as well, about Tesla and the oil industry generally, and how some things may not be allowed to fail. In other words, there's some people that get the overdraft with no bottom. You know, in America, you can get bottomless coffee. Well, if you're a special kind of person, you get what's called the bottomless overdraft. And that's pretty cool when you're running a space station, space company, and all sorts of other circumspect, slightly dodgy industries that seem to have replaced NASA, and a car company to boot, amongst many other projects, on just the 100 million you made out of PayPal. So let's close this and have a little look on a smaller time frame. So we're doing this straight away, dropping down, and this is what struck us. If you learn HVF method with some of us, it's slightly imperfect. We got a little bit put off the scent. I think we had a very big gap that was a great disappointment to the market and all, and this led to a slightly imperfect low, but essentially weak channel up. You've had a squeeze down like this, you've had structure, you had a lovely little piece of price action there where there was essentially an ascending triangle which turned into the first ascending inverted micro HVF. Yes, that means something. You're probably going blah-de-blah-de-blah, techno, babble. Yeah, I know what you mean. Overperformance, a little bit of basing, hanging on, dip. That's called the feign break, rally back in, we call that the second chance. That's the beginning of the capitulation, which ran 2 interims there. So you'll learn a little bit more. I think there was an imperfection in there when you're part of our community, and we're giving you a little look now on this one. To be honest, I'm not in this. I'm waiting for a second chance. If it comes, I'm not sure it will. This has been a bad sell. We got a little bit thrown off the scent by that gap and move and the draw. Some of these, I never chase a trade. So I spend a lot of time getting trades or missing them and just accepting that. I want to make this point to you, for those of you that want to learn to trade. Recently just done an interesting little series that I've shared with the insider community, and it's about trader's block. You need principles. You need a trader constitution. You need to have something that you adhere to. And one of the key rules is, I say, you can't submit to FOMO chasing in. I want you to think about FOMO as the time when there was looting in town and you saw it on the TV. Who knows? Maybe it was the breaking of the levee in New Orleans and people are smashing windows and grabbing flat screen TVs and things like that. Who knows? Some of them might have been grabbing food. I might have a little bit more empathy for that. But the condition is that I want you to think about is that when you're standing there watching all the looting going on, you do not get sucked up in the herd and become a looter yourself. In other words, there's a crowd behaving in a certain way and you stand aside and you observe it and you move on. And you, by character, are not a looter. Now, I want you to have that same view about chasing into already capitulating or melting up shares. FOMO buying or fear of loss selling is absolutely out. It's going to destroy your trading gains. If it means watching something capitulate even further, you'll be amazed how many times you get a second chance. Put more orders in on limits and nothing at market. Cut out market orders. Set tripwires. If you haven't set the tripwires, you didn't care enough, you weren't observing early enough. Anyway, that ends that epistle. We're talking Tesla. Tesla Inc. We're on the 30-minute chart. That's your structure. Quick little view for you all on where I think it could go just out of this pattern. If this pattern is the correct draw, you're going to be looking around the 226s just on this pattern alone. Overperformance is possible too. Overperformance is possible too. What do I think might happen? Actually, I think after these two interims that are closely clustered, there is a small chance that that actually comes back a little. You see, there's a lot of fans. There's a bit of plunge protection when it comes to our friend Elon. Listen to that. I just turned him into a Greek. Look, you'd think as a South African, I'd want him to win. I would want him to win if there's integrity and there's no silent, dark hands, budgets that are keeping him afloat in a non-economic way. And if all that he speak be words of truth and integrity. I do not wish to see anyone win in a game of deception. Deception is the enemy. Truth is where it's at. Lots of selling gaps here. Selling gap there. Selling gap there. This points to real weakness. There's your structure. Here's what happens when you have all these gaps. A nice little squeeze. Boom, boom, bosh. Down you go. So that's a little about where it is technical. Let's have a look. He said, let's have a look at the love that Tesla is getting at the moment. So you'll see that I'm watching a couple of topics here in my tweet deck. I'm going to move that out the way. Here we are. Tesla is the far right column of the screen while you observe the beautiful contours of the top of my head. I'll be back looking you in the eye while I get the desktop sorted out. Hard not to like Tesla here with the buying power. Let's take 260 tomorrow and begin the swing back to $300. Well, he's a bull. There's some bulls out there. Oh, let's close the pen. We got to close the pen and let's open some of these tweets up. So let's see what that tweet is all about. I believe Tesla's hat is now empty of rabbits. You see, the personality. You get sold a charismatic leader, the man who's a visionary, who's going to take you to Mars, who's putting cars in space, apparently. Talk about an expensive, cash, wasteful publicity stunt, if ever I've seen one. I do not like directors with my money pulling publicity stunts for moral victories over Shortsville. No, no, no. And getting into fighting matches with people. Not smart. So what could come? I mentioned this before, by the way. This is somebody else's chart. This is Shadow Tracker. Good job to you, mate. What could happen if he is indeed correct and you get those lower levels that I've already highlighted is that you end up with left shoulder, tabletop head, you get a small bounce here, and then you get a right shoulder, head, and that would be devastating because the scale of that target would take you very low down indeed. He's got a logarithmic chart, so what I've just drawn will make no sense with his scale, but I want to make that point as well while you follow it. So what he's saying is the next bounce should be shorted for target 180 within 2 months. You see, everybody's now a bear, but the key thing is you need to say it before. There's been bears around for a long time, but we've only started covering this as it's getting to key technical levels where there is a genuine pattern, where there is a breakout possible into new levels to the downside. You could have been short for ages and it's just cost you money to hold the trade. Plus, you could have got in too soon and you could actually be underwater with the trade, needing quite a deep dip just to get back into the game. Timing matters. Entries matter. In that series, I discussed that series that I've shared inside with the premium guys on that Vimeo over there. Later on, we'll do some of that free view release. So stay in touch. Make sure you have an email on themarketsniper.com, by the way, and go register and get your email. You'll get an offer to watch some of that. It's really cool and interesting. Okay, so let's have a little peek at the rest of the news, because we've just seen one guy. Also, what I'd like to do is leave your comments. I'll come back past this. I'll share. I'll reply to some of them, depending on how many out there. I'll reply to all of them. Let's see what other people are saying. Tesla CAO is either incompetent or lied. Purchase obligations to Panasonic are a BFD. That used to mean buy the effing dip to me last time I knew, but I think it's something else. And his answer was 100% wrong. There's a lot of perception that there's quite a bit of deception in what is being said at a board level. We've already seen a patent act to manipulate, calling a $420 cash takeout. Who was the unknown executive with a thick Indian accent who stepped in to give a misleading answer about Panasonic's purchase? Ooh, this sounds like a little bit of problem here. Is Deepak still there? The 4.9 billion is due this year. Total amount is 18 billion. Debt that has to be rolled, debt that has to be paid. Now, before you get too aggressive and think it can be shorted only to the floor, I want to remind you some of the things that you'll hear on the podcast I did with Chris Aaron on his iGold Advisor. So for those of you who want to go look up that YouTube channel, in fact, maybe let's try find it. Give Chris a shout out. He was with us. Let's go do a quick search. I want you to bear this in mind when you talk about Tesla. It serves a key control structure purpose. It's all part of one of the four pillars of the surveillance ever totalitarian state is digitalization of everything and surveillance of your movements through all means. The driverless car, the car that can be remotely turned off, aka you're talking Tesla at the forefront of all of this coming, is all part of the game of control structures. He serves a key goal for the control structures. In other words, I think he's like Donald Trump's casino that died in the property bust, and he'll be carried on a bottomless overdraft through the property cycle to come out the other side, even though he should have been bankrupted. So if you go watch this clip shouting out to Chris, that's him there. We couldn't get my image in there. That saves your winces. He's over here. Go watch what we were doing. We had a good look at the precious metals as well, and we spoke a little bit about the control structure, the role of oil, and the death of the combustion engine associated with oil, and the role where this ties into Tesla as well. So go have a little look at that one, and that is iGold Advisor. Go give him a sub. He's a top man. But anyway, back to the news. So it seems like this chap is saying that they've already got a lot of debt that needs to be hit and rolled. What else are the market commentating since the Tesla news? Tesla Japan still says H2 2019, Elon must have forgotten to tell sales director and PR manager in Japan. Wait, both positions have been vacant since last year. Never mind. Okay, so someone on a Kawasaki is a little disappointed with the Japanese side of things. Baggies say that any variant of Elon is loaded. You'll put more of his own money. Elon has rich friends, they'll put their money, they can raise. All admit that Tesla's failed as a business and needs more and more injections of capitals to continue. Let me tell you who the buddies are. Control structure, banking. It was Rockefeller, who was chairman of Chase Manhattan Bank, that carried Trump through his property boom, and it's the same names. The bankers will be instructed to keep the money flowing. Bottomless coffee for you, bottomless overdraft for Elon. Yep, that's how the game goes, and that is who the rich friends are. The rich friends, real rich friends, kind of guys. Oh, I'll help you run your space program, your car company that's hemorrhaging cash, and every other harebrained save the world business scheme that you happen to get into that's not making a real buck, doesn't have positive cash flow. Shit, why don't we just start a fracking company? And why don't we just buy $10 bills for a $20 note? Maybe we can burn more money that way. It depends how important your key elements. Go watch on the Reset Sniper, the totalitarian state and the role of allowing the petrodollar to die, taking combustion engines off. It's been an option that's been available to us for years. Why has this man been anointed to bring in battery? It could have been brought in a lot sooner. Because the time is now. That is why. And the people that decide these things have decided it. Okay, what else are the marvelous peeps of Twitterville saying about Shortville and Tesla? So let's keep having a look. Tesla Model 3 performance crushes fossil fuel BMW M3 around racetrack preview. So there's a bit of noise about how much power and a really low center of gravity you get when you have a hybrid. I expect Porsche, VW, BMW, and all the brands that he's comparing it to will have similar, if not better, performance, because generally the Germans, in terms of efficiency and power, have done better than North Americans for the same size engine in getting power out. Yes, that's fuel. Let's see what they churn out on the battery front. But after an unprofitable quarter that badly missed estimates on the top and bottom lines, Musk sounded somewhat more amenable to raising capital and financial discipline. He's making the right noises. He's kind of like the Fed, who said they were going to raise interest rates and nix the balance sheet. Only now, maybe we will temper those interest rate rises. This is all, he's talking like someone. People have been calling this for a long, long time, the people that do the fundamental analysis. The only thing they don't have is timing. Could the time be now? Are we going to drop and hold below 260? Will we get a final kiss on the move up from these levels before running the 226 and beyond? Overperformance indeed possible. You do a partial close in those situations. Time alone will tell. But make sure you stay in touch with me on our Tesla Watch. With that, I'm going to sign out. Thank you for coming in on our live stream. If you're watching this on the recording, remember, go check out Chris Aaron's iGold Advisor. Interesting stuff on oil on his latest one. I was with him there last night. Come and check our website out if you think you'd like to be part of our community. We have 5 amazing shorts at the moment that we're playing. One of them did really nicely today. There's a lot of equities, not in the Nifty 50, Nifty 500, that are very, very painful and need to fall and roll over. I'm talking about those that don't get the bottomless bank overdraft. They only get their bottomless cup of coffee when they head to McDonald's and throw over their $10. So watch out for that. There's some real opportunities. This is where we operate, where we have our setups. You can come and find out more about being part of our community. If you want to do that, best to have a chat to someone. Come over to the website and you can get started right here. Hit and book a time to have a chat with someone who was sitting where you were 2 years ago and is now HVF trading. Thanks for coming on, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. And we'll be doing more of these. We're testing equipment. Tell us what you think. Did we get the lighting right? Is the audio good? Is it 4K? This should be streamed to you in 4K. It's taken a lot. I'm such a technical monkey. Thanks to the guys that helped me. Catch you later. Enjoy your run into your weekend. Bye from me. Bye-bye.